Hey everybody, Assalamu alaikum. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the notify button so you know when you're getting new episodes. And we just project. I thank you in advance. Without further ado, let's get it rolling. The Shout Out Show. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. This is me, Preacher Moss, host of the Shout Out Show, the SOS. It's a great Saturday. I appreciate you coming and partaking of this conversation as well. I always do like to do my housekeeping. If it's your first time coming to the Shout Out Show, we ask simple things. We want you to enjoy yourself, feel comfortable. But we also ask that you click the subscribe button and the like button, and we can keep growing this project. That's number one. Number two, if you are an official member of the Shout Out Show family, the Shout Out Show soldiers, as always, let me extend my hat, tip it, and tell you thank you for coming out and supporting the show, because there's so many places you could be on a Saturday, particularly a Saturday, and you're here. So I appreciate it. So we got some folks in here. My main man, Samir. What's going on? Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Got Big Sis Ree in here, Sister Sultana. Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You know, brothers, this is and sisters, this is a little bit of a tough show for me. Tough. A lot of us are dealing with the loss of a great actor, young actor. I always lament when we lose young talent, young spirits. So, of course, I'm talking about the recent loss of actor Chadwick Boseman. I keep saying Bossy or something, but brother Boseman. And I think it's interesting because in a very relatively short amount of time, he produced a rather impressive amount of work. When I say impressive amount of work, this is what I'm saying. In the Hollywood process, particularly because he was a young man that went through fine arts, Howard University, he actually starts trying to, he wanted to be a director. And he takes a class about, learning how, it's called acting for directors. And one of the people who's in that class happens to be another Howard alum, Felicia Richard, takes a shine to the young man and recommends him for this program over at Oxford. Now, you guys have seen some of the videos of him thanking Denzel Washington, and he should have. But it was interesting because I guess if I'm being honest, the young man was extremely talented. And I say extremely talented because he found a space, if you will. Oh, yeah. Thank you, brother. We got a whole lot of stuff going on today, man. It's Michael Jackson's 62nd birthday as well. I also want to extend condolences not only to Mr. Boseman's family, but also to Cliff Robinson, former NBA player, veteran. I mean, it is it's something I think we could really, really like. But again, it's on this sad occasion. But I don't want it to be a sad occasion. I want this to be a little bit of a celebration, because I'm literally happy for this man and everything he was able to achieve at age 43. He produced a rather I mean, when I think about it, before he got to the movies, he had produced a lot of stuff on television. And that's not easy at 43. I was talking with Sister Sultana, and we started breaking down about what age he had to be to do these movies, if you will, the James Brown movie, the Jackie Robinson movie 42, and also the movie Marshall. And of course, he does Black Panther, But he does Black Panther as a cameo, as a matter of fact. But let me break this down. He will be forever remembered. Like personally, I think that Marshall was his best film, but he will be personally remembered for the movie Black Panther. And let me tell folks, man, there has not been a movie like that the black community has rallied around, that the white community has rallied around. And it came out 2018. And I'm here to tell you, it changed a whole lot of things in the black community. There was a heightened interest in terms of uh, African and African American history, philosophy, politics, spiritual analogies in terms of community building and things like that. I mean, and it was such an anathema to everything that was going on. And I would probably be remiss if I said it gave us a sense of pride during the Trump administration. If I didn't say that, I'd be lying. It gave us an extreme sense of pride outside of the Trump administration. And it allowed people to find themselves. And I called up a good friend of mine, actress Felicia Chappelle, and I asked her, I said, what is it? Why is it that we like this guy so much? Like, why is it that we like this guy so much? And Sister Chappelle offered this idea that I hadn't thought about. Obviously, I've been struggling with colon cancer for 4 years. Now, colon cancer is not easy, brothers and sisters. It is not easy. I mean, you can do the chemotherapy, but it takes from your body. I mean, to live, it shortens your life. But what is interesting is that he chose to work, knowing that he had these things. He chose to pursue his craft, knowing that he had these things going on within himself physically. And maybe that's the thing that drew him to us. We didn't know that he was making the choice to go through that process to deliver this art, to deliver us Marshall, to deliver us the James Brown story, to deliver us, of course, Black Panther. And I have to say about Black Panther, it was one of the few philosophical engagements that have come out of the black community in terms of film, and it happens to be an action film. It happens to be an action film. It refined the whole idea of Afrocentric understanding, growth, history in an action film. And it was interesting because everyone in the film Black Panther had power. Let me say that again. Everyone in the film Black Panther had power. There was no wasted acting. Honestly, we cheered for Killmonger, the character of Killmonger. We cheered for him because, normally in those films, the bad guy has to be the bad guy. And, he could be a little sympathetic, but he can't be right. Killmonger in the story, Black Panther, brought us to a particular type of parallel that it made us understand historical imperative in terms of colonization, but also Black spirituality, and of course, Black religion. It didn't say certain things, but it talked about and framed a lot of argument around Black religion, if you will. Now, some people have some issues at the beginning of the film where, they did the rescue and obviously the words, from the terrorists, the Arabic, and call into account Islam. But aside from that, they weren't the first ones to do it. Aside from that, they give a shout out. What's going on? Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Big Mikhail. How you doing, brother? Glad to have you back. But there's something in this relatively short life of 43 years in a body of work that's prepared. And I'm going to speak as an artist. Many people will not get to that level. You may get a bit part, but you will not get lead roles, particularly lead roles at his age. And I'm talking about lead roles which are part of some of the most difficult type of filmmaking, which is period pieces. Period pieces. When I say period pieces, I mean, Jackie Robinson, 42 was back that time. Marshall was then during that time. They take you into time warp with James Brown. You see him change. And I think to myself that whatever was going on with this man's body, as it was breaking down with the cancer, he made a decision that carried over into his acting. And you can chime in on the chat if you want to. I thought one of the most amazing things about this actor, Chad Boseman, was in the middle of the biggest film he ever did, Black Panther. My gosh, he looked like he belonged there. He was calm in the eye of the storm. Let me say that again. He was calm in the eye of the storm, and he delivered. There's very few actors that are going to understand that it's their time and it's their place, and they have to deliver. Movies that come to mind, of course, are Denzel Washington and the Malcolm X movie. But there's very few. Sidney Poitier, In the Heat of the Night. Movies like that. You don't have those parts anymore. And I accrue it to the fact that he was a patient man because he was a studier. He was a student of the craft of acting. Coming out of Howard University, he wanted to be a director, but he comes out an actor. Now, let me tell you guys a little secret about why actors can carry movies and why comedians a lot of times can't. Actors spend time. Mr. Boseman was a theater actor. When I say theater actor, it means that he spent a certain amount of time understanding the finer aspects of theater. A lot of the people that are very, very successful that we really, really like are incredible theater actors. Where does he meet Felicia Richard? Theater. Where does he meet Mr. Denzel Washington, who pays his tuition? As a part of theater. And what I pull from this little bit of gem, if you will, is that you have to be willing to discipline yourself to be patient. To be patient for something that may or may not come. Let me say it again. You have to be willing to discipline yourself to be patient for something that may or may not come. And it came through in his acting. I really enjoyed myself watching this young man act. I mean, first of all, when I first saw him, I was like, but he grew on me. I'm a critic. He grew on me. And when he did the first movie, his first lead, people, and this is very important as we talk about Hollywood. Let me give a shout out. What's going on, Clear Sky? Yep, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Rest in peace, Chadwick. Absolutely. I began to appreciate this man because he took on larger than life roles. He took on the role of Thurgood Marshall, James Brown, and Jackie Robinson. He wasn't 40 when he took those roles on, brothers and sisters. I'm saying that he made this giant commitment to deliver a story to us. When I say deliver a story to us, I mean deliver a story that's encompassed by great acting and great commitment to choices and decisions. Now, some of you are going, preach, what does this have to do with anything? What does it have to do with, my life, my choices? I'm going to tell you what it has to do. This man lived his life, and there's another comedian I'm going to bring out who did something the same, something akin to what Mr. Boseman did. So Mr. Boseman was sick for the last 4 years with colon cancer. Nobody knew, but he continued to work. There's a comedian, Eddie Murphy's brother. His name was Charlie Murphy. And Charlie Murphy knew he had cancer, lung cancer. I'm not sure exactly what cancer, forgive me. But it was killing him. He knew it was killing him. He continued to work. Now, there's two things that you have to think about. One, if you actually tell somebody you're sick in Hollywood, they'll get rid of you. They don't like the risk or the liability. If you're the lead in a $100 million film and you're sick and you can't perform, you cost the producers, the finances, a lot of money. So that might have been the baseline behind doing this. But something else hit my mind. It hit my mind that maybe this guy realized in terms of, Sister Rabina. It hit me that this guy realized that he was the one at the right place at the right time to do these roles. And what's interesting is he was so unassuming. He was so unassuming. And one of the things I pulled out of this was just this level of humility. And if there's anything I want to say to people who are listening, people who are listening later, is there something to glean from that kind of wisdom? He was an everyday guy. He was never too high, never too low. He did the job. He did it with a high level of efficiency, a high level of artistry. And he never let us feel like we were cheated. And you know what, brothers and sisters? With all the stuff that's going on in the world, we should aspire to do those type of things. And whatever we do, whether it's parenting, whether it's business, whether it's relationships, that we humble ourselves and be blessed to understand that wherever it is we are blessed to be in that space to do it. And I'm not calling in any type of issues of, looking at our own mortality. You know what? Here's a guy who didn't look at his own mortality, but he looked at his opportunity. And that's rare. To know that you have something that could kill you, and you look at it as an opportunity. Let me give a shout out. Sister Susan, all right. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, we need those. Thank you. Yes, and you're right, Brother Mikkel. Richard Roundtree had breast cancer, if I'm correct. Kept it going. He kept it quiet. He kept working too. But I'm going to ask everybody, despite what you see on television, the protests, I feel like the answer for us, because you can't change everybody, but you can create an environment. Let me say this carefully. You can create an environment whereby you appreciate the opportunity, not the difficulty, but the opportunity. He said something during the commencement speech at Howard University. And he said basically about choices. He said sometimes the reward is going to be because you took the harder choice. And that reward will build you in some regards. That reward, if you will, when you get to the big show, you'll be a lot more equipped than everybody else that took a shortcut. I tend to believe him. Because I can't name a whole lot of actors, brothers and sisters, who shined like that guy for like the last 7 years. When he came on the scene, he had a plan and he stayed on the scene. And, I always say, as my father says, he says two things about death. He goes, none of us are going to get out of here alive. That's number one. And number two is when you die, you're going to be the last one to know. And I felt that. I've never met the man. I felt that. Switch gears as a basketball player. I want you to look him up. His name is Cliff Robinson. He played for the Portland Trail Blazers. Now, I bring up Cliff Robinson because we are close in age. In fact, I think he was only 6 days older than I was. Played at UConn, University of Connecticut. He was a prototype for all these guys you see, the Dirk Nowitzki's, the Luka Doncic, the Rasheed Wallace, because he was a 6'10" guy that could shoot from outside and he could actually absolutely murder you. And he had a disposition. And one of the things that I always respected about him is an award he won. The award he won in the NBA was he was the NBA's best sixth man. Now, the idea of the best sixth man is you're the first guy off the bench. But I thought about it. It's not that he's the best guy off the first guy off the bench. He's the most effective guy off the bench. And maybe what I really liked about Mr. Boseman is that he was really willing, in a lot of regards, to be the sixth man. He found pleasure, skill, and efficiency in understanding being the sixth man. And in film, it's not even being the sixth man. It's being the second person Who's the first person? His audience. As we are Muslims, I always value trying to be the first person, the best person off the bench to support my community, support my family, and so and so. But most importantly, as a Muslim, I'm always happy to come off the bench to support my Lord. The last thing that I want you to remember about Chad Boseman is the fact that he spoke freely and openly about his spirituality. His struggle, his triumphs, his failures and successes were in accordance with the dialogue that said that he had a connection with his Lord. Now, I'm not saying he's Muslim, Jewish, Christian. What I'm saying was, spiritually, he was aware that he was there for a reason. And oftentimes, when people are spiritually connected like that, they don't stay around that long. But what they present to you is in a very, very impressive and impeccable body of work. And I'm going to say, maybe we should aspire a little bit. I'm not telling Muslims to, go out and take acting classes. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying you're not doing things right or correctly. I'm saying that maybe we can do them better. And not better for ourselves, but better for the other people around us. You see, sometimes you have to be examples for the other people around you. And sometimes that's your purpose. As you grow, sometimes other people don't grow. Like every seed that's planted, even though you give it water, it's not going to grow the same. And as people remark about this young man who passed away, and you'll hear more stuff about Cliff Robinson as well. And thank you, Samir. Yeah, Michael Jackson's 62nd birthday is today. All extraordinary people, all very, very extraordinary people. And you know what? They're not extraordinary, particularly because they had all these skill sets. Boseman was an everyday guy. Cliff Robinson would be an everyday guy, except for he's 6'10". But the approach and how they saw life mirrored the fact that they were willing to work. When I say work, there's levels to work. There's learning how to work, then there's learning how to execute, and then there's learning how to excel. I think possibly, potentially, that's why I like this young man. And while I hadn't seen Black Panther except 1.5 times, I walked away and I watched the credits. But I didn't leave the theater that time. I looked around and I saw the effect that this movie had on other people in the theater. And for a moment there was a collective, like, we've all been inspired. We've all been inspired. So as we wrap up, brothers and sisters, like I said, I didn't want this is not a funeral talk. There'll be times for the funeral and sadness. That's all part of life. That's all a part of life. But just for this time, if you get a chance, if you have it on DVD or you have it on Netflix or whatever, wherever you can find it, even if you just rent it or bootleg it, go to the barbershop and get a copy of it. Every Black barbershop has a copy of Black Panther. Go check it out. Look at the nuances and the happiness, brothers and sisters, the happiness of the people in that movie, the pride in which they delivered their lines, the regalness of their wardrobe, the language, even though it was the language, and it was an incredible storyline about how people saw Africa, about how Africa saw itself. And just appreciate that, because you may not see it again. So, brothers and sisters, I will see you tomorrow on Potluck Sunday with your brother Preacher Moss. And for all of you, including Mr. Boswick, Wakanda forever. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hey everybody, this is your brother Preacher Moss. Listen, I hope that you enjoyed your Shout Out Show experience. We'll be back with the next show, the next Shout Out Show. A simple ask before you go, please help your brother out. Click that subscribe button, click that notify button, and I'll see you again on this side of the microphone. You probably wonder what that smell is. That's me. I smell good. And the reason I smell good is because I use oils from Tarif Altar. So I'm not saying you can't smell good. I'm not even saying you stink. I'm saying you have the opportunity to smell exquisite. Check out TarifAltar.com for some of the best oils and scents in town.